guys, we are doing the review sheet. So hopefully you've done it already and you're using this to check it. Like I've said probably before, nobody really cares that I know how to do this stuff. It's all about you, okay? All right, so the topics for this last test are all statistical measures, dot plots, histograms, box plots, mean, median, mode, range, best measure of center, spread, which is IQR or standard deviation, linear regression, and correlation coefficient, okay? So the first whole bunch of that's one var stats, and then the linear regression and the correlation coefficient, that's two variables. You're looking for a relationship. Okay, so number one, create a dot plot for the data. All right, so making a dot plot, that's fairly easy if you have something to write with. You just want to start by drawing something that creates scale. And so I'm going to do 4, and you try to be as equally spaced as you can. It's not an art class, so if you're not perfect, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, and I'm going to just quickly erase the end of this. Oh, I erased the whole thing, so I guess I'll draw it again. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If there is a point that skipped, like if there were no 7s, you would still write the number 7. Okay, so 1 dot for 4, 1 dot for 5, 3 dots for 6, 2 dots for 7, 4 dots for 8, and 2 dots for 9. Okay, that would not be considered symmetrical because as you can tell, its highest point is leaning over near the right. So therefore, we would consider that left skewed. Okay? Find the mean, median, mode, and range. Now, mode is the one thing you do without a calculator. It's just the one that appears the most, and the mode is 8. Okay, so the rest you can use with the calculator. So what I would do is enter my data into my L subs. So to do that, you hit stat, enter, and then you just type. Now, you could have done this list using a frequency chart, which is something you do have to know how to do. However, what I did is I entered each data point into L1, and I'll show you the frequency chart in a second. Okay, so you do stat over once to calc, and this is one var stats. You make sure that the list is where you put your data, and I currently don't have a frequency list, so I'm just going to leave that blank, and then I go to calculate. So the X with the bar, that's the mean. The median is MED. Okay. So the mean, the median, and then the range is high minus low. So we would do 9 minus 4, which is 5. Be careful with range. Some of you are putting the range interval, which is it goes from 4 to 9. That's the interval of the range. That's not the range. That's a little bit different. Okay, so mean, median, mode, and range. All right, so what I was talking about with the frequency chart is you see how there is 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 3 6s. So like you could have had a frequency chart and this would say shoes size. And this would say number of people. So I had, for 4, I had 1. For 5, I had 1. For 6, I had 3. For 7, I had 2. For 8, I had 4. And for 9, I had 2. And that's called a frequency chart. So if you were using that on the calculator, you would put in your L1 the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you would be like 4, enter. It's easier if I do it with the mouse. Enter 5, enter 6, enter 7, enter 8, enter 9, enter. And then in your L2, you would put the frequencies. Frequency just means how many times that number occurred. So 1, 1, 3, 2, 4, and 2. So you would enter that way. And then when you went to do your calculation, your 1-bar stats, you would tell the calculator that you have a frequency list that's in L2. And you just hit second and 2 to enter that. You hit calculate, and you're going to get the same answers because it's the same thing. Okay. Also, right here, the SX, that's the sample standard deviation, and the sigma X, that's the population standard deviation. Okay. All right, here we go. When is the median the best measure of center? The median is best used when a data set has an outlier or the data is skewed. The mean is best. When is the mean the best center? The mean is best to use when data is symmetrical. The mean should be your first instinct. Okay. If you scored a 76 on a test and you were 2 standard deviations below the mean of 88, what is the standard deviation? So first I did is 88 minus 76 to find that there's a difference of 12 between the 76 and the 88. And since it says 2 standard deviations, I divided by 2 to find out that just 1 standard deviation was worth 6. Okay, so remember, like, here's your mean score of 88. 1 standard deviation above, 1 standard deviation below, 2 standard deviations below, 2 standard deviations above. Okay? Within 1 standard deviation, there's approximately 64% of the data. So if you had like 10 pieces of data, you would expect 6 of them to be within 1 standard deviation of the mean. And it's always of the mean, not the median. If your score of 92 is 1 standard deviation above the mean and the standard deviation is 7, what is the mean? So the same idea, I subtracted the 7 from the 92, which brings me down to the 85. So 85 is the mean. So once again, here's the mean. If I go 1 standard deviation above, I go to 92. If I go 1 standard deviation below, I go to 78. And that tells us that the majority of the people, approximately 64% of the people, have between a 78 and a 92. Okay? All right. Number 6, create the 5-number summary, the box plot for the data below. List the 5-number summary and draw the dot plot. The box plot, sorry. Okay, so notice I was up here doing some schoolwork before. All right, so I have to enter this data. So it's stat, enter, and I just go up to the header to clear the lists. I find that easier if you hit clear and then enter. Okay, you can also just type over things. So this is going to take me a minute to type. If you want to like pause and then fast forward, I completely understand. Or if you want to hear me rambling on about all my crazy stuff that I ramble on about. This might be my last video with you, so of course I'm going to start to get sad. But hope you guys have a great summer. Maybe do something, learn something new. That's like my thing lately. I want to learn something new. I think I've got first time ever that we're ending so early that I have about 2 weeks more time than I normally do. So I was trying to think to myself, what would I do with those 2 weeks? I don't feel like taking a class, which normally I'm like, that's like one of my go-to things is like take a class because I really enjoy that. But I don't think I'm gonna because I don't want to be on the computer those 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to go computer free. All right, so you want to double check that you typed your data correctly. 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 is there 3 times, 1, 2, 3, 16, 17, 18, 21, 32, 35, 37, 38, 38, 39, 40, and 42. Okay, so I typed it correctly. All right, so stat, arrow over to calc, one var stats, and the frequency list is no longer there, so you can just hit clear or delete and calculate. Okay, so for the 5-number summary, you have to scroll a little bit to the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to write these down so I don't forget them. I have 8, 14.5, 17.5, 37.5, and 42. Okay. Remember, you can also check to see if there's outliers by doing the interquartile range, all right, which I'll talk about in a second. All right, let me just go back to the piece of paper. Come on, piece of paper, come on up. Okay, so I'm not going to make the list here right now, but I do have to create some kind of scale. So I have to go from 8 to 42. So I'm going to start with 8 and, I'm not writing. Please write 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. A piece of graph paper is always good for this too. 32, 36, 40, and 44. Okay, 8, 12, 16, 24, 28, 32. Okay, that's good. All right, so I make a little point here at 8 because that's the minimum. Make a little point here at 42. 14.5 around here. 17.5 around here. 37.5 around here. Okay, so notice the box is not very symmetrical, which means the data is slightly skewed. All good. Okay, so you would have to put the list. I'm going to put the list later just to save some time. Okay, find the range. The range is high minus low. So 42 minus 8 equals 34. Find the IQR. 37.5 minus 14.5, which equals 23. It's a pretty big IQR. Find the sample standard deviation. So I want to go back to my calculator. The sample is the one that has the S. So 12.06, so we're going to go with 12.1. Approximately 12.1. How many scores are within, well, they're really not scores, so that's a typo. That's how many people or ages are within one standard deviation of the mean. Did I write down the mean? Of course not. Back to the calculator. All right, the mean is the X with the bar. So I got to go up a little, 23.75. Okay, so scroll back here. All right, so we have 23.75. If I go up 12.1, that is 35.85. If I go down 12.1, that is 11.65. Okay, so before 11 would be 8 and 10. I'm just going to make little tally marks, 8 and 10. After 35.8, 37, 38, 38 again, 39, 40, 42. 8 scores are not within. Sorry, it said within. So therefore 20, so 12 are within. Okay, so let me count that again just to make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good job. Okay, because there were 20 scores. Okay. All right, write the linear regression model, find the correlation coefficient, explain what that tells you about the association, and then predict for 2020. Okay, so back to the calculator. So you have to enter your data. Okay, 2000. Now, when you're doing this, sometimes they say like years from like 2000. So like 2000 might be year zero. You always have to read what it says. It doesn't say that here, but make sure you do read that. 2004, 2006, 2008. Remember, tell me if I have a typo, because of course I will. And then you just gotta laugh at yourself. I don't have any music playing today because the other day when I made a video, I realized my music was way too loud. And so when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my God, I must have been annoying you guys. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Good typing so far. Okay. So 12, I typed wrong. 12. Then 16, then 21, then 26, then 30, then 37, then 41, then 57, then 62. Now, if you get an error message, one of the first things you want to look at is that the length of these lists are the same, because that's the most common mistake, is typing something wrong. Okay, so you do stat, calc, lin, reg. To get the correlation coefficient, your diagnostics have to be on. Okay? If they're not on, that's under catalog. Catalog is above the 0. Okay, so write the linear regression equation. So it's y equals 3. I'm going to go to the nearest hundredth. I promise on the test it does say that. So 3.12 x minus 6224.71. Correlation coefficient, R is equal to 0.98. Remember, the sign of the correlation coefficient must always match the sign of the slope. Okay, and then for the prediction, I'm going to have to plug in the year 2020. Okay, so back to the paper. I'll write this in for you. Y equals 3.12x minus 6224.71. R equals 0.98. The correlation coefficient of 0.98 is close to 1. Therefore, there is a strong linear correlation. Predict for 2020. So you just substitute in the 2020, y equals 3.12 times 2020 minus, and I'm going to write on my face, so instead I'm just going to pick up my calculator. Okay. 3.12 times 2020 subtract 6224.71, enter. 77.69, so therefore we're going to say 78. Okay, good luck on your test. Just send me an email, a text, smoke signals, anything if you need help. All right, do well, be successful. And join me on Zoom. I get very lonely. My sons would really appreciate it if you join me on Zoom, because then I would talk to them less. Have a great day.